Hi, my name is Kate, and I love to read. Like, I was carrying books around with me before Kindles were a thing. So I decided to start a podcast where I interview the authors of some of my favorite books, ask them all of my questions so that I can read between the lines of the books. Welcome back to another episode of Between the Lines. I am here today with my first repeat guest, Jaime Lynn Hendricks, to talk about her newest release, It Could Be Anyone. So thank you for being on the podcast, Jaime.
Thank you for having me again. I'm very honored to be your first repeat.
So we'll just jump right into talking about your new release. So how would you describe It Could Be Anyone in a couple sentences?
They thought it was going to be a fun destination wedding with palm trees and sun, and no one knew that the entire bridal party wanted the groom dead.
That about sums it up. What prompted you to write this one? So, like, what inspired you to come up with this great plot?
Well, this was, I think I told you this on my the last time that we did this, that this one was actually written before Finding Tessa.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
this is the one that got my agent. So basically, I was like, I got to come up with something strong and splashy, and I'm really trying now.
Yeah.
So I wanted to start it. Well, I wanted something that was just going to be completely crazy in the beginning to try to kind of
Yeah.
hook people. So that's why I have, and this is not giving anything away. This is why the groom
No.
dies halfway through page one because it's just
Yes.
bang, it just starts going. And then I just kind of picked everything around that. I knew I wanted it to be, somebody from the bridal party. I just at that point didn't know who. I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
what their secrets were, what their names were. I just said, let's get this out, get it started, and then it'll come to me as I write.
Yeah. That answers a couple of my other questions, actually. But so I know you wrote this one before Finding
Yes.
Tessa. Did you approach writing it differently in terms of like your writing process? I know you kind of just said that like you were angling to do something like with a bang
Yes.
since it was kind of your first one, but what was different about writing it compared to Finding Tessa?
Well, for this one, I didn't really know how anything was going to play out. Like I said, I
Okay.
didn't know who the killer was. Like, when you, like with thrillers, there's always twists. For Finding
Yeah.
Tessa, I knew what that first major twist was. And then
Yep.
I was able to write the story to get to that twist. And it was a little bit different coming out that way
Mm-hmm.
because I knew where I was going. With this one, I didn't know where I was going. So
Mm-hmm.
it was harder and easier because
Yeah.
harder because I didn't know where it was going, and easier because I just got to have more fun with it because I wasn't stuck regimented into where I thought it was going to go. If that makes any sense.
That's cool. So you kind of like discovered it more as you were
Yes,
writing it.
absolutely. We'll talk about a lot of those points after the spoiler section. I could tell you how some of those things seem to be.
Yes. Yes. So what was your favorite part about writing this one or writing it that way?
I wrote it in 6 weeks from beginning to end. Yeah, that's what was fun about it, is because it was so much fun to write because, man, like these characters, they've got some flaws, they've got some doozies. I had a lot of fun with it. So that's why I think I was just able to write it so quickly because I really, really,
Mm-hmm.
really enjoyed writing it. I mean, every second I got, even when I was in bed and I wasn't in front of my computer, I would just wake up, or I actually don't sleep. So I don't sleep much. So when I was just not sleeping, I would just write it, like what I knew the next chapter was going to be in the notes in my
Mm-hmm.
phone, and then I would forward it
Mm-hmm.
to myself and plug it into the manuscript and then reformat everything because in the notes you don't get indents, you don't get the right font,
Right.
you don't get I didn't put like exclamations or quotes or anything, but I would just write it at
Right.
night and then I would throw it in and be like, wow, I have another chapter already, and then I would just start writing after that, and I would just continue that way, and it went fast. It was lovely.
That is so cool. It was fun reading it. I feel like reading it was similar almost to what you were saying because I was like reading everywhere that I could. Like, I'd be like waiting to pick up my groceries and I'm like, oh, okay, I can squeeze in a couple pages.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So it's a really large ensemble
Yeah.
cast for this one. So how did you like create all of those characters and how did you keep track of their separate stories?
I kept track of the stories in my head, just saying I kind
Mm-hmm.
of want this one to do this and this one to do this. But again, we'll
Mm-hmm.
talk more about that in the spoiler section. um,
Right, right.
but it I just kind of went with it. I was like, okay, I'll have, because it started with Ethan and then Emma. I was like, okay, they'll be the, the married couple that, and obviously when you have a married couple that both have secrets, there's got to be some fun behind the scenes stuff. And then,
Mm-hmm.
I tried to make them all completely separate. Like Ethan and Emma were the couple in love, and I was like, all right, what's the opposite of that? So then I had like Dutch, who's kind of a playboy, and
Yeah.
Allie, who's kind of a priss, and Little Miss Rich Girl, and then I had to balance all
Yep.
that by having V, the nicest guy in the world. So I kind of
Yeah.
wanted them to really be different from each other. So that's
Yeah.
kind of just how they came to me, is just make them
Mm-hmm.
all different and opposite from each other, but be able to have enough in common that they were able to be like best friends.
Right. That was something I noticed when I was reading it too, because sometimes you get like bigger casts and some of the people really are super similar. And so then, even as a reader, when you're reading it, you're like, wait, whose perspective am I in
Right.
again? But I didn't feel that ever when I was reading this one. Like, exactly what you said. They all felt like very separate people. And you could kind of tell, even if like you didn't read the chapter title, you could tell who you were
Oh,
reading
good. Thank you.
from just because they were so different.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah. So now let's get into the spoilers so we can talk a little
Okay.
bit more about that.
Everybody
So,
stop here because there are a ton of massive spoilers coming.
so many spoilers. Like, I feel like there was just like new information like every few chapters that was like, whoa,
Yeah.
wait a second. So, yeah, just don't keep listening if you haven't read it. Go read it right now and then you can come back and listen. So, like you said, it is not much of a spoiler that the groom dies because it happens in the first
Yes.
page. And then we flash back to 2 days before the wedding and kind of alternate between all of the friends' perspectives. So, what did you enjoy the most about having that, like, here's the inciting incident, and then kind of flashing backwards and moving towards that incident?
I thought starting it, like I said earlier, starting it with the bang was the way to go to get
Mm-hmm.
everybody hooked. And then I
Yeah.
wanted people to say, okay, like, one, did he deserve it? Which is why I made him such a slimy douchebag, because I wanted the reader to know that he was getting his comeuppance, that it was coming. He's gonna be dead. So that's why when I because like the pace has to be good enough that it's fast paced, but I also didn't want to throw out everything. Like the secrets had to be revealed slowly. So
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of went into it letting the reader know that every single person is hiding something. Every single
Yeah.
person literally hates him and wants him dead. And at the
Yep.
same time, every single person had to pretend around everybody else how much they loved him. So
Yes.
that was like something else that they had in common that they didn't know they had in common.
Yeah. Yes. That was actually that made me wonder. I thought that was such a cool like plot device or whatever you would call it, that in multiple perspectives they would be like, but they all seem to love him so
Yeah,
much. Like I must be the crazy one. And it was crazy that the thing that they all had the most in common would have like helped them figure something out
exactly.
sooner, but they're all like, oh, they all love him, which is also your like that's common with toxic people is that like they even present a certain way and so you're like, am I crazy for not liking this person?
But that was another
So
thing
I
that
love that.
they couldn't all really come out and say like, "Hey, this guy's blackmailing me, like help," because too
Yeah.
many people were involved with too many other people. So they couldn't actually
Yes.
come out and say it.
Yes. They all had so many secrets, which meant there were so many twists that got revealed as the story just progresses, and a couple of their secrets even overlap with each other's lives. So how did you pick the secrets that each character had, and did you know at the beginning how some of those secrets were going to be interrelated?
I picked them as I was writing each perspective. I just knew that they were going to have a secret. I didn't know what it was, to the point
Okay.
when I say these characters really revealed themselves as they went on. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know that Emma was not pregnant until the end of part one, when I was just like, you
What?
know what? Let me throw a tampon in that bag and have V discover it. And I was like, hey, maybe she's not going to be pregnant. And then I had to come up
Yes.
with something else, being like, okay, then, you know, I had to make her pretend that but then I had to go back and be like, okay, make sure that she still pretends that she's pregnant. Make sure that her language in her voice doesn't say something about the baby inside of her, just that she was clutching her stomach and she couldn't reveal anything too soon. And I had to kind of make all of that stuff in her voice, not have her give it away. I did not know that V killed Allie's mother. I did not know that until like I wrote it. I didn't know that that Ethan and Fiona had. At first, it was just a hookup, um, and then I thought a better way to do it was just make it kind of more of a relationship, even though for him it was just whatever. I did
Mm-hmm.
not know that like I just didn't know anything until I was writing it, which is again what made it so much fun, because I was like, oh, I didn't know that I didn't know that Dutch and
Yeah.
Allie were gonna end up together until, I mean, I was writing that scene in the bar and they were just gonna whatever, and then I was like, no, I think they're right now they're gonna hook up. Like Allie's gonna be like, hey, let's go back to my room, and I didn't do that either.
Yes, those were ones that like I didn't see coming either. And then at the end, I was like, I can't believe I didn't kind of think of that. Like they were perfect for each other. Like the
Right.
timing of it was
I
perfect
know,
for
wasn't
them.
it? I love them.
Loved them. I was like, I just want to hear more about their
I
story
will tell
when
you
I was at
something
the end
about
of it.
that at the end. I'll tell you something about
Okay,
it at
okay.
the
All right, we'll wait on that one.
end.
So, with that many people that you were writing, did you have a favorite point of view to write from?
Um, yeah, actually, both of the girls. Allie, because
Mm-hmm.
I just liked her attitude. She was just
Mm-hmm.
didn't. She gave zero F's about anything. And she
Yes.
was kind
Yep.
of the one who spoke her mind the most without filter. Um,
Yep.
and I also liked Emma because she was portrayed as the most innocent, and she was literally the worst. I mean, she was the worst. She was the worst one out of all of them, between, faking her pregnancy to her husband, cheating on her husband, screwing Trevor, um, giving away the baby and pretending it was her niece, literally being the first one to be like, I'm going to murder him. It was She was literally the worst person, but she came off in the beginning as just the most innocent. And, at first I wanted people being like, oh God, what could this poor innocent little woman have done that's so
Yes.
bad? Everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
All of it.
So
She did all of it.
yeah, so she was really fun to write. Yeah, she definitely had, I mean, everybody thought they had the most to lose. Like, and, Allie thought she was going to be in prison when her father died. Dutch thought he was going to lose all of his friends, just like his best friend Roger already did. And he thought he was going to lose his reputation of being Mr. Great Guy and helping everybody. Um, V thought being like the good guy and wanting everybody together no matter what, and nothing could be that bad. We're all best friends, but you know, he was only there because he found out about Allie after he killed her mother in that accident, and then he found out about her. He ended up wanting to be friends with her just to protect her. Ended up with all these great friends, so he thought he thought they were all great, but
Right.
they were to each other. So
They
for
are.
Emma, um,
Yeah.
Ethan was just a hopes, just a hopelessly in love. Just did not want to lose his wife. That was, and to him, that was the most important thing that he thought he was going to lose.
Right.
And just Emma was just vicious. She turned out to just be vicious. Like,
Yeah.
she thought that she was, cheating on her husband to save her marriage, but like, my
Right.
God, if he knew all of just, oh my God, he again thought that she was the most innocent thing in the world. And man, if he
Right.
found out every single thing about her, She was just
Yeah.
vicious. She was
Yeah.
horrible.
V and Emma were the two people I was torn between because, like, V's is like killing someone is pretty.
Right,
You don't want anyone to know about that, but I guess that's kind of how Dutch. Well, he didn't kill
right,
her, but yeah, I was torn between V and Emma in terms of like who was the most desperate to keep it quiet, which makes sense that they kind of came together to try
right.
to kill him.
But that's why also with V, where I
Hmm.
thought a little bit of redemption from him, why Emma was worse than V, is because Emma
Hmm.
kept that part from V too, that he
Yeah,
fathered a child and she did not tell him, and she gave it away and passed it off as her niece, and he met the kid. Like, where
yeah,
I gave him a little bit more of a, how can you do that to me and make the reader feel that? Like, how can you do that to
yeah.
him? She was the worst.
Hmm.
She was just the
Yeah,
worst.
she is. You're right. Yeah, it would. I can't imagine finding out. I mean, it wouldn't happen to a female, but I can't imagine finding out I had a kid that I didn't know about
Right,
and that I'd even met before. That
right,
would be crazy.
right.
Yeah. So the one person we don't get in her perspective is Fiona.
Yes.
And I was wondering a couple of times while I was reading, I was like, does she actually love Trevor or does she just not want to be alone? Because she even kind of like, she kind of mentions to her friends that maybe she doesn't want to be with him anymore. And then she ends up marrying him. So what are your thoughts on Fiona?
Fiona was complicated because you didn't get in her head. So
Mm-hmm.
basically you heard through the friends that they had been having discussions, and it wasn't that she didn't love him, it was that she thought
Mm-hmm.
maybe it had moved too fast. But it moved fast
Yeah.
because Trevor was, just with every superficial thing that you could say, was a good looking great guy, as every
Yeah.
superficial thing. um he she did love him, because probably because of the superficial reasons, which is not love. But in her mind, it was, she was infatuated. And then she got
Yeah.
this whole thing, oh my God, this great guy, look at this great job. And look, he's gonna work for, my uncle who's a senator, who's gonna, he's gonna run for the presidency soon, and I'm gonna have this wonderful life because of this guy, and look at what he's doing for
Mm-hmm.
me. So,
Yeah.
but she doesn't really know that. She doesn't really
Mm-hmm.
know that that's how she is. But yes, because like you
Yeah.
said, she ended up marrying him. She wasn't an ambitious person. She wasn't
Right.
glomming onto him to try to become the first lady or any of that. Um, she kind of fell ass backwards into it because she didn't think she was good enough. I think she was insecure, and that's why she kind of let him walk all over her. And
Yeah.
if she knew anything about what he was doing to her friends, which, at the end, where they said, like, we have to tell her that he was doing this
Mhm.
because, his death came off as an accident. So it's
Right.
not like she's going to suspect that his friends tried to kill her, tried to kill him.
Mhm.
But I did have it resolved where they were going to kind of come clean with each other. At least most of them
Mhm.
were. Not that little
Yeah.
bitch Emma. um,
Yeah, I don't think she wants anyone.
but that they she did have that talk with V at the end where she said, we have to tell Ethan. And how much of anything they were gonna tell Ethan, I don't know, but just that they were gonna
I
try to
wondered.
say something and try to come clean.
Mhm.
And they did all kind of say, once all this blows over, we have to tell her. That way,
Yeah.
kind of doing her a favor, like, look, don't mourn so hard over this guy. He was a jerk
Yeah.
off. So,
Yes.
I think they kind
He
of wanted to
was.
give her that, you know, relief, maybe.
Yeah,
You know,
that's kind of how I interpreted it. It'd
yeah,
be easier to be like, "Oh, this person was not great anyway."
yes.
So did any of the characters surprise you while you were writing it? It sounds like they kind of
Yeah.
did, but maybe what was the most surprising? And did you ever have a draft where the killer was someone else?
Well, okay, so this is the spoiler section, so everybody
Yes.
everybody knows this already. So at the end,
Yeah.
everybody's last perspective, you find out that they actually did try to kill Trevor also, unsuccessfully, because they all thought he had a peanut allergy. and it turns out he did not have a peanut allergy. So they all figured, like, we'll just throw some peanut stuff at him and poof, he's dead.
Yeah.
So everybody tried to kill him to save themselves, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And you find at the end, once they all found out that they were all being blackmailed, it was like, oh, they must have all been thinking in the back of their heads, because this part hadn't been revealed yet. But they must have been thinking in the back of their heads, like, oh, good, I didn't just try to save myself, I was saving my friends too. So, and the funny thing was, I never read Midnight on the Orient Express, so I didn't know it was kind of the same premise where everybody tried to kill him and only one succeeded. I had no idea. I thought I was being original. I mean, like, everybody was when, like, I was going out for agents and the whole thing, and with editors and agents when it was on sub, and they all were like, "Oh wow, it's like Midnight on the Orient Express," and I was like, "Wow, I just never knew that." I thought I thought I was original, and turns out I wasn't. Um, but that was kind of what I thought it was original. So when I was writing it, I thought that was such a cool thing. Wow, look at them. They're all going to try to kill him, but only Allie, ended up doing it because she wasn't thinking. She was just thinking nuts, and she remembered from the brunch that it was an almond that made him go crazy, and she had almonds in her trail mix, so she was like, fuck this, I'm killing this guy. But, you find out it wasn't the peanuts in the cigar. It wasn't the peanut oil put on the end of the cigar by Ethan. It wasn't the peanut dust from V and Emma. It was the almond from Allie that ended up doing it. So it was just, that was fun. I thought that was fun. And I didn't know, I had no idea that it was going to be Allie until the last chapter, because
Okay.
I was writing the last 5 chapters, and it was from each of their point of view, and that's, you find out it was supposed to be all of them, and then I was just like, I'm going to make it Allie, and then I was like, I'm going to make it an almond, and it was that I wrote the last chapter, and I was like, yep, that's it, the end,
Nice.
it's over, Allie did it, Allie's the killer.
Yeah. That's really cool. And I thought I haven't read Midnight on the Orient Express either, so
Oh,
I
sorry,
hadn't thought of
I
that
just ruined
either.
that for you. Apparently,
No,
everybody read
totally
it.
fine. Like, it's been out for a while. Like,
Yeah,
I
50
could have
years
read
or
it by
something.
now. Yeah, I could have read it if I was going to. So, but I thought it was so clever having it everywhere because, like, it just kept this, or the fact that everyone was trying to kill him because it kept the suspense really high. And the whole time you're just like, who's gonna pull it off? And like you were mentioning at the beginning, like he is such a terrible person that you don't feel like a bad person rooting for him to die.
Exactly.
So the other thing that it kind of made me think about was how all the fact that all of them had such bad secrets was the reason he was able to even kind of pull this off until he died. Um, and so then the fact that they were kind of all trying to kill him also felt like a shared guilt.
Right.
So were you kind of trying to play at that, or were you mostly just doing it as like red herrings, like, oh, maybe it'll be this person, maybe it'll be this person, maybe it'll be this person?
Well, I did have, they all mentioned several times, like usually at the end of their chapter, about like how they wanted, how they hoped he died and they wanted him dead. So
Yeah.
that was keeping the reader on their toes, thinking with every chapter, like, oh, it's got to be Ethan, and then reading the next one, be like, nope, it's definitely V, and then be like, no, it's definitely Emma, nope, it's definitely Allie,
Yes.
nope, it's definitely Dutch. So
Yeah.
I wanted the reader to kind of circle back every single time and change their mind
Mm-hmm.
constantly.
Yeah.
I don't think they did it out of a shared guilt, because at the time that they were all doing it, they did not know that they shared horrible
Right.
secrets. They all thought it was themselves. So they were killing him to save themselves. They all found out
Right.
later that they saved their friends as well. But no,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was anything shared. I think it was actually very selfish of what they were
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah. Yeah, it really was. Um, so then speaking of them being selfish, are any of the friends still good people after we know what we know?
Well, I think Allie is probably the most innocent because Mars was just, a little insider trading and selling some secrets, and I think she's the most innocent. And
Mm-hmm.
I thought I I made her a good person, balancing off, kind of her prissy type way and her a
Mm-hmm.
little bit more in charge with that super sensitive side about her father. So I
Yeah.
think she ended up being the best person, which was why I thought she was the coolest one to make the killer.
That's
Because
what I was gonna say. I was like, you led with the killer.
yeah, so I I think she is a good person because I think the world is better
Mm-hmm.
off without Trevor Vaughn in it. So
I
I
think
do
so.
not I do not find her a bad person for killing
Mm-hmm.
Trevor. I
Yeah,
I
yeah.
and I don't think Ethan is a bad guy for he's not I mean he has bad judgment, he made bad decisions by screwing
Right.
around with one of his, now wife's friends while they were broken up. But, you know,
Right.
Emma did break up with him twice. It was always Emma.
Yeah.
He did nothing but try to get her back. He bad
Right.
judgment, bad judgment. So I don't think
Mm-hmm.
Ethan's a bad guy either. As we said, Emma is literally the worst, so we don't even have to go there
Mm-hmm.
again. um,
No. Yeah.
the like you said, he did kill somebody.
Yeah.
There was so much other stuff done to him that I kind of
Mm-hmm.
made him a little bit more sympathetic. Me a little bit,
Yeah.
still bad, but
Yeah. Yeah.
and then Dutch, I he did something horrible. It was an accident. It was because he was a
Yes.
douchebag. He has been doing nothing but trying to make up for everything he did. He's been paying for her. He's sad that they won't let him see her. He pays for everything, and
Yeah.
he has done nothing for the last 10, 12 years except
Right.
doing good in the world to try to pay penance, which is just never going to
Right.
come for him. It's never going to
Yeah.
come for him in his
Mm-hmm.
own in his on his own. It's just never going to come for him, which will propel
Right.
him to keep being a good person, which is a good thing.
Right.
So I guess at the end of the day, Emma's just the worst.
She is. That she had a lot
A
of
lot going on,
big
man.
secrets. That I don't think I could keep track of everything that she was
Oh,
keeping track
I
of,
know
really.
she was horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what were you going to tell us about Allie and Dutch?
Okay, so there is don't like there's nothing. There's nothing. This is just me. There's nothing in the
Okay.
works for this. I haven't spoken to my editor
Right.
or my publisher about this at all. But
Okay.
um,
We're getting an exclusive.
yes, I do have the entire sequel written in my head already.
Oh my
I
gosh.
want to see if I have to see how this one sells, how it does, what the if people want to see
Yeah.
a sequel. Because I do have another
Yeah.
book coming out next year. I have two other completely written. I'm working on another one. Those do not have
Wow.
deals with my
So you have
publisher.
3.
Well, I have one that's already contracted that is coming out next year.
Yep.
Then
And
I
then
have
2 other
two
ones.
other ones behind that are written, completed, finished. And they
Nice.
they don't have a contract yet because we haven't
Okay.
officially submitted them to my publisher yet. So,
Okay.
I could always say to them like, "Hey, would you be interested in a sequel?" See
Yeah.
if they would be interested in one. Tell them, how I have it, and I could just tell you the beginning because I want it to kind of be the same but different. So this one will
Uh-huh.
start at Dutch and Allie's wedding. Yay! So there is gonna be Dutch and
Nice.
Allie. But like, I
Yay.
have like Ethan and Emma separated and like Roger's back. I would want Roger to be a main character, have a point of view, have Fiona have a point of view. And it would and I know why. It's because somebody's gonna die at the wedding. I know who. I know who's gonna die at the wedding. It may or may not be somebody from book one. It may, it may be one of the five who dies
Yeah.
at the wedding. It may not be because I have two
Right.
ways in my head that I can play it. One it could
Okay.
be, one it could not be. But I do know why. I do know about their secrets, and I do know about a different way that they can come out. So it could be a
Mm,
different the same book but completely different, with the same characters. So I have had a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people, like bookstagrammers and stuff, say like, we want to know what happens next. So I have to
Yes.
see if that's something that, you know, is a big consensus by readers. And if so I
Yeah.
want to see if my publisher even wants to do that. They might just want, you know, a bunch of standalones, which is fine. I mean, I've got a bunch
Right.
of those too. So,
Yeah, you've got them. Yeah.
but
That is so cool.
I do have a thing in my head about Dutch and Ally getting married because I liked them too. I liked putting them together.
I really liked them.
So
That's how I felt at the end. I was like, I could definitely just keep reading about this friend group. Kind of like when you were saying that, it was kind of making me think of How to Get Away with Murder, the TV show,
yes,
is kind of set up that way, like a big cast, and
and
then there's
everything's
always
kind
some
of
crazy
wound around their
murder.
families and their past, and
Yeah.
yes, I love it.
Yeah, it was making me think of
I
that.
love
I feel
that
like
show.
it would do well like that, kind of like a series like that, because it's in it, and I feel like I feel like every season starts with a murder, and then you work your way up to the moment. So it's even
I never
similar
even
in that way.
thought
So
about this as How to Get Away with Murder, but
yeah,
I love that you said that. I love that you said
yeah,
that.
yeah. The structure was reminding me of it, and then even just like the idea of a friend group together that all have secrets is similar to it, at least.
Well, that's such high praise because I love that show.
I loved it. I haven't seen it in a while. That's why I was forgetting some of the details,
Oh
but
man. Oh no,
I
I
was
remember them all.
obsessed with it.
Especially that last season was so well done. I'm not going to spoil it for
Yes.
anybody, but it was so well
Yeah.
done. Same thing. It's like
Yeah.
you're not watching what you think you're watching.
I know. Oh my gosh, I love that. The Affair is a little bit like that on
Same.
Showtime.
Oh
It
God,
wasn't
I
as
was
popular.
obsessed with that one.
I was too.
Except for what was it, season three? I hated season three. Is that the one
I
with
think it
the
did get, I
French
thought the
woman?
same thing. I feel like the first two were great, and the third it was like,
Yeah,
oh
it was
no.
like that French woman. It's like, what? Why are we getting half of the season about you? Who the hell are you? And she was never
Right.
mentioned again. I'm like, so
Yeah,
stupid.
yeah.
But
That
great
part
show,
was weird.
great show to
It
watch.
was. The first season was just
Amazing,
absolutely
out of
phenomenal.
control.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I like that
Well,
show.
hopefully
That's why I like
your
thrillers.
publisher agrees with us.
Yes, but that's why I like thrillers because I love that idea
Yeah.
of secrets and betrayal and murder.
Yeah.
And you
Mhm.
know, that's why I love shows like that. I'll watch anything
Yeah.
that's like that, and that's why I read everything like that because you know, I
Yes.
like unlikable characters. I love unlikable
Me too.
characters. I like
Mhm.
backstories that, you know, you have to find out and secrets and oh my God, what did they do? I love that.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people
Yeah.
don't. Some people are like, "Oh my god, the characters were so horrible." Like, I didn't even like
I
reading
know.
it because they were so bad. I'm like, "That's what makes me read something faster." I love unlikable
Yes, me
characters.
too. That's exactly how sometimes I've told Tyler, my husband, before, the other thing in books that will make me like not able to put it down is sometimes when a character is so terrible, like so
Yes.
terrible, I'm then so hooked on getting to the end because I want to see them like get what they deserve.
Yes.
So like sometimes I'm like I cannot wait to figure out how they get what they deserve and then I can't put it down.
And that's why I actually made Trevor, and because again, we have a cast of flawed characters. I mean, this is not a
Yeah,
secret.
yeah.
But that's why I made Trevor so wretched because
Mhm.
it almost the friends looked like innocent, you know, by design
They
next to
do.
him because
Yep.
like I wanted because the reader knew he was going to die, and even as you found out
Mhm.
how flawed and awful some of the characters really were, I still wanted you to
Yeah.
root for them to kill him because he was just a slime ball. He was so bad.
Yeah. Yeah. He was. He was
Yeah, I
terrible.
know.
Like being willing to use that against people, especially to get married. Like there's also that part. Like the fact that he's manipulating someone into marrying him
Yes.
is terrible
Yes,
too.
yes, there was nothing redeeming about him. Nothing. Except I
No.
gave him that one human thing, but I didn't dwell on it
Mhm.
because I didn't want people to feel anything for him. But the
Mhm.
thing about how Dutch's ex-girlfriend was the one that he was with,
Yes.
you know, the love of his life, she dumped him for Dutch and then and
Mhm.
then Dutch ruined her. Um,
Yeah.
and you know that was what the thing that turned him into who he became. But
Right.
I that's why I didn't dwell. I mentioned it a couple of times, like during the reveal of like Dutch's backstory.
Yep.
And that one part where you were in that one chapter that's Trevor's head. I
Yes.
got
I
into
know when we
it.
got to that, I was like,
I
ooh.
got into it a little bit, but I didn't dwell because I dwelled on the parts in his head of him being, like you
Hmm.
said, a manipulative bastard, like to everybody,
Yeah.
and how he was talking
Yeah.
about Fiona, like, ugh,
Yeah.
but whatever, like
Oh, it was
she'll
bad.
she'll get me to where I need to be. And I
Yeah.
real and that was the one because he was about to die. So that chapter was a
Yes.
couple of chapters before he died. So
Right.
if the reader didn't really hate him and want him dead, that chapter did it.
It seals
Yeah.
it. Like, when we first started to get into his perspective, I was
Someone
like,
kill him.
"Oh, no, is there gonna be something redeeming about him?" And I read, like, a couple sentences, I was like, "No,
No,
there's not
no,
going
there's
to be."
supposed to be nothing redeeming about him.
Yeah, he deserves what was coming to
Yep.
him. Yes. So, where can people follow you so that they can maybe hear about a sequel and all your other books?
Okay. I'm most active on Instagram. That is
Mhm.
at author Jamie. No, I'm sorry. I lied. That is at Jaime Lynn Hendricks author.
Uh-huh.
On Twitter, I am at author JLH. And always feel free to drop me a line, email me at
Mhm.
authorjlh@gmail.com. Uh, I'm available for book clubs. I could do Zooms with anything's local. I'm happy to do a in-person book club if anything's local to, like
Yeah.
Jersey Shore or around St. Petersburg, Florida, because I'm there half the time.
Mhm.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
anybody wants to do a Zoom for a book club, I'm available. We can work out times that work for everybody. I'm pretty accessible. I love my readers.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
come talk to me.
Yeah. Yep. So I will put all those links in the show notes so everyone can go find her really easily. And otherwise, thank you for talking about your newest book.
Thank you again for having me, Kate. This is wonderful.
Yeah.
And I hope to see you
Yeah.
next year when I Didn't Do It comes out.
Yes. Yes, definitely. You can be my first three-peat.
We'll see. It's going to be a year, so you might get a couple of people in with three, before
Maybe.
that.